Hello friends, it's getting close to elk season and we are super pumped to get in the elk woods and get chasing them. But I want to give you 2 tips for calling elk that has nothing to do with the actual calls you use, but I think it's the 2 most important things that a lot of people overlook. And the first tip is, if possible, elevation wise, get even with the elk that you're trying to call in. There's 2 reasons for that. The first is that it's the easiest path for the elk to come to you. And so if you want to make it as easy as possible for that elk that you're trying to get to and call to you, is get even with him elevation wise. There's exceptions to that. There might be downfall or whatever terrain is in the way, but generally you want to be on the same elevation as them. The second reason for that is, and we've all done it in the morning when we're working a bull, we get on a herd first thing in the morning and the thermals are just flying down the mountain. And then we're working it and the sun's coming up, and now maybe you started in the dark timber and now we're getting around some mature trees where the sunlight's poking through, and so the thermals are starting to come up a little bit. And so you might be in an area where the thermals are going down, but where the elk is the thermals are starting to go up. And so if you're even with them elevation wise on the mountain, then whether the thermals are going down or up, it really doesn't matter, because they're not going to get you. But if early in the hunt and the thermals are going down and you're below the elk because you want to play those thermals, then as soon as he gets in an area or you get in an area where the thermals are going up, the gig's up. And so those are 2 reasons why you want to get even with the elk elevation wise. And then the second tip I would recommend is to throw your calls. Throwing calls simply means directionally I want to make it sound like I'm over here or back there. So let's say I'm even with a bull that's elevation wise over here, okay? And let's say I'm hunting by myself and the thermals are going down, okay? More than likely that bull's gonna loop downwind, okay? So if I'm gonna throw my call, I wanna throw it upwind and behind me, okay? Now that might only give me 10 to 20 yards of distance where he thinks I'm slightly uphill and back there. But that 10 yards could be the difference. When you're hunting with a bow, that 10 yards could be a difference. How many elk have survived because if they just took 1 step or took 2 more steps? Well, if you can get them to commit to that 1 step or 2 steps by throwing your calls and taking advantage of the wind direction or the thermals, knowing that generally, not always, but generally that bull's going to come in slightly downwind of you. So I hope those 2 tips help. Get even with the elk and throw your calls.